Okay, welcome to the 14th tutorial of the Ajax comment box tutorial. In the last one, basically, we set up our Ajax callback, and we were then able to insert the data into the box. I can't type below. Okay, obviously insert with an I. Okay, and it went in. This request went back to the server. Okay, and then returned with the JSON information which we needed. Okay, so now it's time to start building the tables. Okay, to save them into it. Now we need two tables within inside of our database. Now in this example, I've got a database called db_YouTube_tutorials. Okay, and I've already got a table in there of people, which was for the other Ajax tutorials which I did. So the first table which we need to create, and before I do that, I'm going to get rid of this because I hate this. Settings, and then features, and then we're going to remove the Ajax from PHP MyAdmin because I hate it. Okay, so databases, and then this one, and do create table. Okay. So the first thing we want is then the this is the users. All right. So we're going to say int and say it's a primary key, and then it's the primary, and then it's going to auto increment as well. We're then going to say then first name is then going to be varchar 255, and then surname is varchar. Actually, no, we're not. We're just going to say username because, as far as we're concerned, at this one point, it's just going to be username. So we can use the same prefix as we used before, and potentially we're using this information which we did here. So username, profile image, user ID, and that's it. So username, and then we'll change this to user ID. Okay, so we've got the same things all the time. Okay, then profile underscore image, which was correct. Yep. And yeah, that would do. That'll do. We don't need anything more than that for the time being. It's not a number. Oh, sorry. Yep, there we go. I'm saying sorry to PHP MyAdmin. What am I doing? What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? Missing value in form. Oh, yeah, stupid. Subscribers, let's just say. Okay, so now we have that table. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this data here, which got inserted, and with inside of our root, I'm then just going to make a folder and say MySQL, and then inside of here we're going to make an SQL file. And then we're going to say db YouTube tutorials dash data, or I say db tutorials. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, finish that, and then just chuck this data in there. Create tables. Okay, so it's then going to make the subscribers table. It's basically, it's just keeping the SQL for me, just in case I need to do it again. Alright, so now that we've done that, we've got the subscribers, and now we need to make another table of comments. So let's make sure we give a table name this time, and we're going to make the primary key called comment ID, and then we want the actual comment itself, and we're going to use text for this, and then we want the user ID, so whoever inserted it, and we'll say int 11 for that. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do for now. We could do some dates and times and stuff, but let's just leave it for that. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's just copy. Whoops. Let's just copy this data that we got here into our SQL file once again. Then we just have to run this SQL file later on if we need to. Okay, so now we've got our subscribers and comments. So what do we next need to do? Let's just delete this, not delete, let's get rid of this file. Okay, we want to now that we've got this MySQL folder, we're going to make another folder inside of it called models, okay, and inside of this folder we're going to make then another class. We're going to make a class, and we're going to call this then subscribers. Okay. Now we're going to put a big S on the subscribers. Now, if you've never used classes before, please don't panic. All right, we're going to go through this nice and slowly. Okay. Now, the first one is we're going to say function. So public static function is then get subscriber, and we're just going to say user ID goes in here. All right. The next one which we're going to do then is public static function. We don't, for this tutorial, we just don't need that for the time being. Okay. The next one which we're going to do then is a PHP class of comments, and we're going to put the comments to a capital C, and then in here we're going to say public static function is get comments. Okay, and now there might be an identifier for that one page, but we're just going to leave it out for now. And next thing we're going to do is then static function insert. Okay, and we're going to insert, this is going to be the data that we're going to insert, and then let's just copy this and say update if we decide later to do it. And then next one we're going to say then delete without a W. Okay, and this is going to be then the comment ID, nothing more than that. Okay, right, so now we've got these three things here. What we want to do is on the comment insert, potentially, because we're going to be using this to insert under here, we need to require this one file. Now, before we had our defines.php file. Okay, well, we can use this to basically make a directory or make a define for this as well. So we're going to say define, and we're going to say the models directory. Okay, and in this we're going to say doc root, and then it's going to be the MySQL folder, followed then by ds, which is a directory separator, therefore it's going to be like a /, followed by dots, and then we're going to say models, then followed by a directory separator. Okay, so every time we need to be able to get to the models directory, we're just got to say models_dr. So with inside of our comment underscore insert, we're going to need to be able to insert this one data. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to say require once models directory, and the file that we're going to get is comments.php. Okay, so it's an easy way of doing it. Now, what we need to be able to check now is if class exists and the class name is comments. So we're checking to see that this file has been loaded and this class exists. All right, and if it does, then we're going to continue with doing this. Now, potentially what we're going to do from here is we're going to say comments, okay, and then insert. All right, now the data which we're going to insert is we only need to have, just go back to our PHP MyAdmin, and we've got need the comment ID, comment, and user ID. All right, now we don't need the comment ID because that's auto increment. We just need the comment text and the user ID, nothing more than that. So we're going to insert into here, then we're going to say then the comment text and then the user ID. Okay, nothing more than that. So let's come to our comments page and let's update this a little bit. So we want then the comments text followed by then the user ID. Alright, now let's come back to our page. Did I spell this correctly? Well, it doesn't matter, potentially, but just for the sake of conformity, let's do this way. Now, we're going to then do insert data into the database. Okay, and what we are going to return in here, we're just going to write up here, return a standard class object from the database. Okay, so although we're going to insert it, we're going to return a standard class with this information. Alright, so now rather than extracting the row again, we just need to get the MySQL underscore insert ID when it's been inserted. So we're just going to say new standard class. We're just going to save ourselves a query. Okay, I'm going to say standard class, and we know that the comment ID is going to be equal to whatever the database gives us once we've inserted it. Okay, but for the time being we're setting it to 1. Actually, let's just put that to null. Alright, so there's no confusion here. And then next thing that we need is comments. Alright, comment equals to comment text, because it's exactly the same thing. And then the user ID, which we got here, is then the user ID is equal to user ID. And we're going to explicitly make that then an integer as well. Now, potentially we're going to return the standard class. Okay, now we also need to then insert the data, okay, which we're going to do shortly. Okay, so now that to delete it in here, this is then going to delete the comments from the comments database using the ID of comment ID. Alright, so that's what we're going to delete it from, and potentially it's going to look like this. Okay, so delete from comments where ID is equal to comment ID. Okay, that's pretty much what it's going to look like once we do it. Okay, so, and this one pretty much is going to look like MySQL query insert into comments values, and we're just going to say then here, actually we need to change that then to that. The first one's the ID, the second one's then the comment underscore text, third one then is then the user ID. Okay, we don't need to have anything on the end of that, and then that is then that there. Alright, that's what we're going to have. We're going to come back and do that in a minute. Alright, so the comment underscore insert, this is what we're going to get, and potentially when we insert it, we're then having been returned a standard class. Now we're going to shortly we're going to delete this information, okay, because that's just the comment insert. So we don't want that. We would need the comments info. Alright, that's what we're going to have. Now what we want to check is to know that if comment info is not equal to null, okay, because inside of our comment insert, if it doesn't insert, we're going to return null. Alright, which we're going to come back to in a second. So if it's not equal to null, then we know that that there is an object, and then we've got the comment information. Okay, now we're going to change this very slightly upon the information which we send back. We're going to send back two pieces of information, the full user information and the full comment information as well. Alright, so we have to collect two pieces of info from the different databases. Okay, so that's now the comment piece of information done. Let's now write this bit here. Okay, before we go ahead and write this, we need to make sure that we connect to the one database. Okay, now with inside of our index file, we've got then the defines. So what we're going to do is with inside of the defines, we're actually then going to require, oh no, we want to do it down the bottom. Okay, sorry, we want to then require once models directory, actually no, we want to do MySQL directory. So let's just copy this and let's just say MySQL directory with only one M, and let's get rid of this down the end. Okay, and now we could potentially put that there, but to stop confusion I'm not going to. Require once model directory, and we're going to include the db connect.php file. Okay, now inside of our MySQL folder we're going to make a PHP file. Okay, and we're going to call this db_connect. Okay, finish. Now with inside of here we're going to do nothing more than say connect equals MySQL connect. Okay, and we're connecting on localhost, and the user is YouTube, and the password's fantastic. Okay, the password's the word password, and we're going to say db equals MySQL select db, and this is called db YouTube data, I believe. Oh, db underscore YouTube tutorial, sorry. Okay, so now we're just going to check if connect, everything's okay. Actually, we'll just do if not connect. Okay, then and then just die. Yeah, let's just die. If this doesn't work, we'll just say die. Problems, we don't want to say problems with database, we're just going to say problems. Alright, so let's check to see whether all is well first of all. Okay, so the page isn't dying, which is good, alright, which I'm happy with. Okay, so now that we know that the insert element works, now the only problem is that we do have is that the comment underscore insert.php, this is not going to have the defines, alright, because it's coming back and it's only coming to this one file. Therefore we need to potentially say require once, and we have to mess around very slightly with this. Say then, whoops, document underscore roots, and we're just going to say defines. That's why we're putting it at the highest level, right, so we can get it. Therefore anything else is going to be defined. Alright, so all of this stuff is going to be there, and also it's going to connect to the database for us. Okay, so we only really want to do this if it's a post request. Okay, we don't want to connect to the database for any other reason. So let's now send back another request. Let's just chuck something in here, send a request back. Okay, we're getting a problem on here, but undefined variable comment text on 23. Comment text. Okay, sorry, it was just comment, so that's what we want in there. It's no big deal. Let's just do it again. Let's just press clear, put something in here, goes back, and everything works fine. Okay, now we're moving on. Alright, don't panic, we're moving on. So if it's all getting a bit confusing at the moment, don't panic, we're going to walk and talk through it continuously. If you had any problems, go back to the beginning of this one video and watch it once again, alright, until you understand it. Alright, I'm trying to slow down a lot further at the moment. Okay,